Hi everyone, this is Balázs from RacingBrick. The wait is finally over. Today we are taking a detailed look at the build of the brand new LEGO Technic Ultimate car, the 42232 Koenigsegg Sadair Spear. A few days ago I was invited to a very special reveal event at the Koenigsegg headquarters in Sweden. I've already published several videos about the experience, including a closer look at the life-size drivable LEGO version, so make sure to check those out using the links below. Today, however, we are focusing on the 1/8 scale set. The box design is similar to previous releases. The front features a striking double image of the LEGO version and the real car, but in this case, the back might actually be the front, as it displays the LEGO logo and all the usual details typically found on the front of the boxes. The set has 4,104 pieces, the price is €450 or dollars, and it will be available from the 1st of July for LEGO insiders. Early buyers may also be able to get the steering wheel gift with purchase set, which I've already reviewed. For local pricing, check the link in the description. As usual, we need to cut the seals and flip the box over. Inside, we find 3 large inner boxes. The cutouts on the sides are supposed to help with removing them. The presentation is excellent. Each box opens like this, revealing the bags inside. Back in the main box, the instructions are stored underneath. The first box contains 9 numbered bags and 3 additional unnumbered ones. LEGO did a great job in the introduction section of the manual this time. We get background information about Christian von Koenigsegg, the factory, the car itself, and the development process. There are plenty of photos showing prototypes and various development stages, making it a genuinely interesting read before starting the build. Here's the part list of the set. There are plenty of new elements to discover, so let me know if you spot anything interesting. With that out of the way, let's start building. We begin with the gearbox, and after only a few steps you will encounter a slightly confusing alignment challenge. If you are wondering how everything should be positioned, this is the correct configuration. There are already several new elements in the first bag. The gear indicator is a new print, but we also get a new dual-molded 9-tooth stepper gear, a new 14-tooth gear designed to mesh with this 18-tooth clutch gear, and 2 new gear shifter drums. This is our progress after the first bag. The gear indicator already functions, although the gearbox itself will grow considerably from here. After bag 2, the gearbox starts taking shape. Make sure these selector drums are aligned correctly before continuing. Here is the next stage with the lower wishbones of the rear axle. The green 12-tooth gear with a clutch has already appeared in other sets, such as the McLaren P1, but the red 8-tooth gear with a clutch is new. And here is the completed gearbox. Notice how the 2 rows of selector drums line up, ABC on one side and 1, 2, 3 on the other. If your gearbox isn't behaving correctly later, this is a useful checkpoint. We start in first gear and can work our way through the full sequence all the way to 9th. Next comes the rear differential. It sits slightly off-center because a drive shaft needs to pass through the gearbox assembly. Because of that offset, the 2 sides use different length CV joints. One side uses the familiar 3-module version, while the other introduces a brand new 4-module variant. Now let's take a closer look at how everything works. The rear differential drives this axle, which runs forward to the drive selector. LEGO also included a heavy-duty clutch gear for protection, although I'd honestly expect other components to fail before that clutch slips. Power then returns through this axle and drives the V8 engine via this gear. You can clearly see the difference in engine speed as I switch between first and 9th gear. Using a motor makes the effect even easier to see. There's also a separate axle used when reverse is selected. In reverse, the engine speed remains constant regardless of the selected gear, which is exactly how you'd want it to behave. There is a difference in resistance, however, because the gearbox is still being back-driven. As a result, 9th gear creates noticeably more resistance than first gear. Next comes the V8 engine, connecting to the drivetrain we just explored. We also get the first printed element of the set, Koenigsegg's famous ghost emblem, inspired by the insignia of the Swedish Air Force squadron that was once stationed at Ängelholm Airfield, the site of Koenigsegg's current factory. Next, we build the rear axle and suspension, introducing several more new parts. First are the new heavy-duty shock absorbers, measuring approximately 6 and 14 modules in length when fully extended. This assembly sits above the differential, followed by the new upper wishbone. Just like its black counterpart, it uses a softer material. The drivetrain now uses heavy-duty CV joints throughout, requiring an entirely new wheel hub assembly. The older, weaker CV joints are no longer used in this section at all. We put the assembly in place and connect it to the wishbones as well. After reinforcing the assembly, we begin building the famous Koenigsegg Triplex suspension. The anti-roll bar is represented visually, although it isn't fully functional because the LEGO version is split in the middle, allowing the two sides to move independently. The horizontal shock absorber, however, is fully functional. On the real car, it counteracts the effect of the anti-roll bar to improve ride quality, and its other main purpose is to reduce squat under acceleration. While testing the suspension, I noticed that the upper arms of this new wishbone tend to spread slightly under load, particularly on this side, where it is held in place only with the half bush. I experimented with the configuration and even replicated the bracing method used on the other side, also flipped the shock absorber, but the behavior remained. According to the Technic team members I spoke to at the event, they intentionally chose a softer material for these wishbones to allow controlled flex instead of risking breakage, although I did not expect to see this section flex during normal operation. This is the build after Back 7. We are now building the drive selector while parts are still floating in midair. The printed Koenigsegg logo appears here, and the mechanism uses a surprisingly clever design. The lower assembly rotates around an axle, while the central section can rotate independently. As a result, the selector itself slides sideways while still reliably operating the mechanism underneath. This is part of the linkage that will operate ghost mode. The sides are reinforced, then we add this frame with the unique printed serial number tile, which you can use to unlock exclusive content on LEGO.com. By the end of box 1, we have widened the chassis. The linkage operating ghost mode is not fully assembled yet. Let's see what comes next. Seats are added along with more printed parts. If you saw my video about the gift with purchase set, then this gear will be familiar, the 9-tooth stepper gear. The shifter still needs a few more parts to be functional though. And now at this stage the engine, gearbox and shifter are fully operational, making this the perfect time for a test. This is neutral, where the engine is disconnected. Switching to reverse engages the engine, but its speed remains constant regardless of the selected gear. The sound changes as resistance increases, but the engine speed itself stays fixed. Now let's switch to drive. In first gear, the engine spins fastest at a given wheel speed, and as we shift upwards through the gears, it gradually slows down. Shifting is smooth and surprisingly reliable, even when the wheels are driven by a motor. Since there's no clutch in the system, this could easily have become problematic, but this implementation works remarkably well. In fact, I think this is the smoothest running Technic Ultimate gearbox we've seen so far. Excellent work by the designers. We can still see the drums with 1, 2, 3 and ABC lining up in first gear, so if anything looks wrong, you can double check at this point, although correcting it may be a challenge. The build continues towards the front with several gears for the steering. There are gauges on a printed panel, followed by the steering wheel. It is unclear if the steering wheel can be properly aligned, unless there is more gearing here. This one is close but not perfect. I also forgot to add the second printed badge here. The central console receives another printed piece. The dashboard gets its dark orange cover, and there are a few extra system pieces as well. Next comes the front axle, steering and suspension. Interestingly, the wishbones here seem to hold better. And everything goes into place. The instructions tell you to align both the steering wheel and wheel hubs before connecting this gear. As we already know, the geometry isn't quite perfect. When the wheels are centered, the steering wheel ends up a few degrees off. Next, the rear of the car is built using a mix of Technic and system parts, and there are several printed elements here. The angled lights look great, as does the massive exhaust. There are even brick-built radiators, which look impressive. The next section is the side, with more radiators and many system accents. The linkage responsible for both door opening and ghost mode is also installed. This is the lever that opens the door, and you can see the first stage of the mechanism that pushes the door outward. From above, the linkage itself is also visible. This is how ghost mode simultaneously opens the door and pops the hood. The setup is very clever, as you can open the doors independently, but the engine cover will also pull the lever responsible for door opening. After that, this side section is covered. The front is also taking shape with many interesting internal details. There are many clever angled solutions, and everything is properly locked in place. Here comes the hood. It has a dark tan propeller blade built in, and it is now in place. The door itself includes a surprising amount of detail, both inside and out, but the highlight is definitely the mirror folding mechanism. A small turntable, a bevel gear and rubber band work together so that opening the door automatically folds the mirror at the same time. It's a clever solution that packs a lot of movement into a very compact space. After installing a few more structural elements, we can already see the complete opening sequence in action. Some system accents are added below the door, followed by the printed panel with the vents and headlights and the wheel arch next to it. The substantial engine cover is assembled, featuring some printed elements again, and is then put in place. Gaps are covered, and then the massive rear wing is added. It features many system pieces, built sideways with a dark orange line that looks pretty cool, and the wing itself is adjustable. Printed brake calipers, then the huge wheels with mirror rims and custom wheel nuts. The windscreen frame must be supported by the wiper in the center, so it is not functional, and there are some interesting support solutions in the corners with uncovered pins. The last item is the roof, and the build is finished. This is the printed plug with all the impressive specifications, and here is the car itself. I have to say, this was one of the most interesting Technic Ultimate builds so far. The gearbox is excellent, there are several genuinely innovative mechanisms throughout the model, and we also get a surprising number of new parts. This video was all about the building experience, so we stop here. In the next episode, we will take a closer look at the finished model, test every function, compare it with the previous Technic Ultimate cars and the real Koenigsegg Sadair Spear, and of course I will share my final verdict. Let me know what you think about the build process and the new technical solutions, the new parts. Let's talk about it in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications. You don't want to miss the next episode. See you next time. Bye bye.